The Arcadian Federation had enjoyed centuries of peace. Their worlds, lush, temperate planets with mild gravity and breathable atmospheres, had produced species that evolved without the need for aggression or extraordinary physical resilience. Their technology focused on harmony, sustainability, and quality of life rather than warfare. So when the Vorax horde appeared at the edges of their territory, the Arcadians were woefully unprepared. "They've taken 3 more outer colonies," said Counselor Rin, her delicate fingers trembling as she adjusted the holographic display. The Arcadian High Council chamber fell silent as red markers spread across their star map like a disease. "We've lost contact with the research station on Keller Prime." High Leader Sora closed his eyes briefly. That brought the total to 17 worlds in just 40 days. Their defense forces, little more than a peacekeeping fleet, had been swatted, aside like insects. "What do we know about their intentions?" asked Counselor Tayo, the eldest member of the High Council. "They strip-mine the planets," Rin replied, pulling up footage captured by fleeing refugees. "They harvest all valuable minerals and move on. No attempts at communication have succeeded. They simply take." The council chamber erupted in panicked voices until Sora raised his hand. "Our options are limited. Our fleet cannot match theirs. We must call for aid from other systems." "Who would come?" asked Tayo. "The Marin Confederacy has already declined, claiming this is a regional dispute. The Polari have their own border conflicts." Sora looked at the desperate faces around him. "We must cast a wider net. Send the distress call on all frequencies to all corners of the galaxy." "All frequencies?" Rin looked alarmed. "Even to the restricted zones?" Everyone knew what she meant. The regions containing planets classified as death worlds, harsh, unforgiving environments that produced species too dangerous to safely engage with. "We have no choice," said Sora firmly. "Better to risk contact with Deathworlders than face certain extinction." Light years away on the 3rd planet of an unremarkable yellow star, Communications Officer June sat bolt upright in his chair at Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station. "Director Kang, you need to see this." Director Kang hurried over, adjusting her glasses. "What have you found?" "A signal, non-human origin. It's not random, it's structured, repeating. I think it's a message." The room fell silent as other technicians abandoned their stations to gather around June's monitor. "Can you decode it?" asked Kang, her voice barely above a whisper. June's fingers flew across his keyboard. "The pattern suggests it's using universal mathematical principles as a base, similar to what we've been sending out ourselves." He paused, eyes widening. "It's coming from the direction of Epsilon Eridani. For decades, humanity had sent signals into the void. Now, finally, someone was talking back. Within hours, Earth's most brilliant linguists and cryptographers had been assembled. The message, once decoded, was unmistakable. Coordinates, technical specifications for communication protocols, and a clear plea for assistance. 3 days later, in the orbital headquarters of the United Earth Defense Fleet, Admiral Bay stood before the hastily assembled War Council. "The signal is genuine," she confirmed, projecting the translated message onto the main screen. "An advanced civilization called the Arcadian Federation is under attack by another group they call the Vorax. They're requesting immediate military aid." General Yu frowned. "It could be a trap." "Possible, but unlikely," replied Admiral Bay. "Our long-range scans confirm unusual activity in that sector, and the message contains detailed navigational data. They want us to find them." President Han, joining via secure link from Earth, leaned forward. "What are you proposing, Admiral?" "I recommend we dispatch the 3rd Fleet immediately," Bay replied without hesitation. "This is the moment humanity has been preparing for since we achieved FTL travel, first contact, and a chance to establish ourselves as a valuable ally rather than just newcomers on the galactic stage." The President nodded slowly. "The diplomatic implications are significant. If we respond to this distress call and succeed, we'll have proven ourselves worthy of galactic citizenship," Admiral Bay finished. "Rather than spending decades trying to convince others to trade with us, What none of them realized was that the Arcadians had already encountered humans before, or rather, observed them from a distance. Earth had been classified as a Class 5 death world, home to a species deemed too violent and resilient for safe interaction. The Arcadian distress call had never been intended to reach human ears. As the Third Fleet prepared for departure, Captain Jin inspected the final preparations on the flagship horizon. 20 warships, the pride of Earth's defense forces, stood ready for humanity's grand entrance onto the galactic stage. "All systems are green, Captain," reported Lieutenant Park. "The fleet is ready to jump on your command." Captain Jin nodded, gazing at the stars through the viewport. "Send the message to all ships. Prepare for FTL jump in 5 minutes. We're about to make history." Little did he know just how true that statement would be, or how shocked the Arcadians would be when Deathworlders answered their call. The human fleet emerged from FTL travel in a blaze of blue light, 20 warships strong. Captain Jin stood on the bridge of the flagship horizon, taking in the scene before him. "My God," he whispered. Instead of the diplomatic welcome they had expected, they had arrived in the middle of a war zone. The view screen showed dozens of smaller ships frantically fleeing from a planet under bombardment. Massive black vessels with jagged, predatory shapes fired relentlessly at both the planet's surface and the escaping ships. "Tactical analysis," Jin ordered, his voice steady despite the shock. Lieutenant Park's fingers flew across his console. "The larger vessels match no known design in our databases. They appear to be the aggressors. The smaller ships are civilian. Class, minimal weapons. They're being hunted. Life signs. Non-human, sir, but definitely alive. Both groups." Jin nodded. "This must be the Arcadians and the Vorax. Looks like we arrived just in time." He turned to his communications officer. "Hail the fleeing ships. Tell them we received their distress call and we're here to help." After several tense minutes, the comm officer looked up. "Sir, I've established contact, but they seem confused, almost frightened. Put them through." The view screen flickered, revealing a slender, pale blue humanoid with large, silvery eyes and no visible hair. The alien wore something like a uniform, though it seemed more ceremonial than functional. "This is Captain Jin of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We've received your distress call and are here to offer assistance." The alien's eyes widened even further, and it turned to speak rapidly to someone off-screen in a musical language. When it faced the camera again, its voice trembled. You are from Earth? This cannot be. There must be a mistake." Jin frowned. "There's no mistake. We received your distress call 3 days ago and came as quickly as possible. But Earth is..." The alien seemed at a loss for words. "Earth is classified as a Class 5 death world. Your kind was never meant to receive our signal." Jin exchanged glances with his officers. "I'm not familiar with your classification system, but we're here now, and it looks like you need help." Before the alien could respond, alarms blared across the horizon's bridge. "Sir, 3 enemy vessels breaking off their attack on the planet. They're heading straight for us," reported the tactical officer. The alien on screen looked terrified. "You must flee. The Vorax will destroy you as they have destroyed so many of our worlds." Jin straightened his uniform and smiled. "With all due respect, that's not going to happen. Please continue your evacuation. We'll handle this." He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. "Battle stations. All ships form defensive perimeter around the civilian vessels. Let's show them what Earth can do." On the Arcadian command ship Starlight Seeker, High Commander Dal stared at the blank screen in horror. "They cut transmission," whispered his communications officer. "What are they doing?" Dal moved to the main viewport, watching as the human vessels, blocky utilitarian things built clearly for function over aesthetics, moved into formation between the fleeing Arcadian ships and the approaching Vorax destroyers. "They're protecting us," said his second-in-command, Leah, disbelief in her voice. "But why?" "They're Deathworlders." Dal had been briefed on Earth years ago when exploratory probes first discovered the Blue Planet, a world of extreme weather, dangerous predators and a dominant species that had evolved as persistence hunters, creatures that could chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. Humans could survive injuries that would kill an Arcadian, endure temperature ranges that seemed impossible, and had evolved from creatures that killed with their bare hands. The Arcadians had wisely tagged Earth as "do not contact" and moved. And yet here they were, these terrifying Deathworlders, placing themselves between the Arcadians and certain death. "The Vorax are opening fire," reported the sensor officer. Dal watched, expecting the human ships to be quickly overwhelmed. The Vorax had destroyed their own defense fleet in minutes, but that's not what happened. "Evasive maneuvers," Jin shouted, as the first volley of Vorax weapons fire streaked toward them. "Return fire, all batteries!" The horizon banked sharply, taking only a glancing hit that the shields absorbed easily. The rest of the fleet followed suit, moving with a coordination that spoke of years of drills and simulations. Their weapons pack a punch, but their targeting systems are sluggish, observed Lieutenant Park. They're not used to opponents who can move quickly. Jin nodded. "Let's use that. All ships, execute Battle Plan Delta, strike fast. Don't give them time to correct their aim." The human fleet broke formation, ships darting in different directions while maintaining their protective screen around the Arcadian vessels. Earth's warships launched missiles that the Vorax point defense systems were too slow to intercept. On the main Vorax ship, Commander Krez stared at the tactical display with growing concern. These newcomers fought unlike any species they had encountered before. Most civilized races relied on long-range bombardment and computer-guided systems. These ships moved erratically, almost randomly, making them difficult to hit. "What species is this?" he demanded. "Why were we not informed of their military capabilities?" His subordinate checked the database. "Unknown, Commander. They appear to be..." Wait, scanning their communications. "They claim to be from Earth." "Earth?" Krez scrolled through the Galactic database. "A backwater. Primitive. How did they get here?" But primitive or not, the Earthers were proving troublesome. One of the Vorax ships was already reporting critical damage, its engines crippled by the surprisingly effective human weapons. "Fall back," Krez ordered reluctantly. "Regroup with the main fleet. We need to reassess." The Arcadians watched in stunned silence as the mighty Vorax warships retreated from the human fleet. What they had failed to accomplish in weeks of desperate resistance, these newcomers had achieved in less than an hour. "Open a channel to the human flagship," Dal ordered, his voice barely steady. When Captain Jin's face appeared on screen, Dal bowed his head. "Captain, we are grateful for your intervention. But I must ask, why would you help us? You knew nothing of our conflict." Jin's expression was serious but kind. "You sent a distress call. Where I come from, when someone asks for help, you help them. Even knowing what we are? What you are?" Jin looked confused. "What we are?" "You're from a death world," Dal explained. "Your species evolved under conditions we find nightmarish. You are predators by nature." Jin smiled slightly. "Maybe so, but we're also builders, explorers, and when necessary, protectors." He leaned forward. "Now, tell me everything about these Vorax. They'll be back with reinforcements, and next time, we'll need a better plan than just surprising them." Dal nodded slowly, realizing that perhaps the Arcadian assessment of Deathworlders had been incomplete. Yes, humans were physically terrifying by Arcadian standards, but they had used that strength to shield rather than to conquer. The Vorax had expected easy prey and found instead the warriors of Earth. And behind those warriors, the Arcadians began to feel something they had lost weeks ago: hope. Proxima Arcadia glittered like a blue jewel against the blackness of space. Once a thriving center of Arcadian culture, the planet now served as the last major stronghold for the retreating civilization. Millions of refugees had crowded into the coastal cities, watching the skies with dread. In orbit, the combined human-Arcadian fleet prepared for the Vorax counterattack. Captain Jin stood in the war room aboard the Horizon, studying the holographic display with High Commander Dal and his officers. "The Vorax will return with at least triple the forces we faced before," Dal said, his slender fingers tracing the projected approach vectors. This is their pattern. Test defenses, retreat, then return with overwhelming numbers. Jin nodded. Then we need to be ready with something they haven't seen before. He gestured to the tactical display. Your ships have excellent sensor and shield technology but limited offensive capabilities. Our vessels are the opposite. Strong weapons, but our sensors could use improvement. A combination of our technologies? Dal looked skeptical. That would take weeks. We don't have weeks, Jin replied. But we have something better. He tapped his comm badge. Send in the boarding team leaders. The door slid open to reveal 6 humans in combat armor, 3 men and 3 women, all bearing the insignia of the Earth Marine Corps. Their commander, Captain Su, stepped forward with a crisp salute. Sir, 1st Special Tactics Squad reporting as ordered. Dal involuntarily took a step back. Even among humans, these soldiers had an intensity that unnerved him. They stood perfectly still, yet somehow gave the impression of barely restrained energy. Jin gestured to the holographic display. Captain Su, we've identified the Vorax command ship from our earlier engagement. When their fleet arrives, your team will board and capture it. Dal's silver eyes widened. Board? You mean physically enter an enemy vessel during combat? That's suicide. Captain Su merely smiled. With respect, Commander, it's what we're trained for. The Vorax rely on automated defense systems and overwhelming firepower, Jin explained. They've never faced an enemy willing to engage in close-quarters combat. Their internal security will be minimal. Dal looked from Jin to the Marines and back again. You're planning to send just 6 humans against an entire Vorax command ship? 6 is plenty, Captain Su replied with quiet confidence. The Vorax arrived 18 hours later, a fleet of 37 warships dropping out of FTL in tight formation. At their center loomed the command ship Inevitable Conquest, 3 times the size of any other vessel. Commander Krez sneered at the pitiful defense before him. Yes, the Earthers had surprised them before, but now he had brought the full might. Of the Vorax 4th Fleet, the planet would fall by day's end. Begin the attack pattern, he ordered. Target their flagship first. The Vorax fleet surged forward, weapons charged, and ran straight into a trap, hidden among the orbital debris of previous battles. A dozen human destroyers powered up and launched electromagnetic pulse missiles. 3 Vorax ships went dark immediately, their systems overloaded. The rest of the human fleet emerged from behind Proxima Arcadia's moon, catching the Vorax in a 3-dimensional crossfire. But it was merely a distraction. Captain Su and her team clung to the outer hull of a modified shuttle as it weaved through the chaos of battle. Every one of them wore specialized armor that would keep them alive in vacuum for up to 30 minutes, more than enough time. Approaching target, reported the shuttle pilot. Brace for deceleration. The shuttle matched velocities with the massive Vorax command ship coming alongside a maintenance airlock. This close, the enemy vessel was terrifying. Black metal carved with symbols that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Go, 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 Su ordered. The 6 Marines pushed off from the shuttle, using maneuvering thrusters to guide themselves to the airlock. Specialist Wei attached the breaching device, a gift from Arcadian engineers who had studied Vorax technology. Airlock compromised in 3, 2, 1. The outer door slid open. The team rushed inside, sealed the door behind them, and waited as the chamber pressurized. Remember, Su said as they checked their weapons, we need to reach the bridge and capture their command data. No unnecessary engagements. The inner door opened to reveal an empty corridor. The team moved forward silently, their training evident in every precise movement. On the horizon's bridge, Jin watched the battle unfold. The human ships were faster and more maneuverable, but the Vorax outnumbered them and possessed heavier firepower. Su's team is aboard the command ship, reported Lieutenant Park. Proceeding to target. Jin nodded. All ships, continue engagement. Pattern. Keep their attention on us. Beside him, Commander Dal watched in fascination and horror. The human tactics seemed suicidal by Arcadian standards, ships deliberately putting themselves in harm's way to draw fire from others. Complex, maneuvers that strained both vessels and crews. "Your people fight like nothing I've ever seen," Dal said quietly. Jin's eyes remained on the tactical display. "We evolved on a world where even the weather tried to kill us. Struggle is in our blood." Captain Su's team encountered their first Vorax guards outside the ship's central data core. The aliens were tall, with chitinous exoskeletons and 4 arms, each wielding a different weapon. "Take them down," Su ordered. "Non-lethal if possible. We need information." The Marines moved. With practiced efficiency, Specialist Wei fired a stunner that dropped one guard, while Lieutenant Cho grappled another to the ground. Private Gill took a hit to his shoulder armor but kept advancing, surprising the Vorax with his resilience. Within moments, all 4 guards were subdued. "Gill, status?" Su asked, eyeing his wounded shoulder. Gill rotated the joint. "Armor took most of it. I'm operational." Su nodded. On an Arcadian, such a hit would have shattered bones. Human physiology, evolved on a high-gravity world with predators around every corner, was proving its worth. They reached the bridge after 2 more skirmishes. The Vorax commander, Krez, stared in shock as the doors slid open and 6 human warriors entered, weapons raised. "This ship is now under Earth control," Su announced. "Order your fleet to stand down," Krez hissed, mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. "You think capturing one ship will make a difference? My fleet will. Destroy yours, then turn this planet to ash." "I don't think so," Su replied calmly. She nodded to Specialist Wei, who jacked into the Vorax computer system. "We're not just capturing your ship. We're taking your entire battle network." Wei's fingers flew across the alien interface. "I'm in, Captain. Downloading their command codes, fleet positions, supply routes, everything." Krez lunged forward, but found himself slammed back into his command chair by Private Gill, who held him with one hand as if he weighed nothing. "Your species," Krez wheezed. "What are you?" "Just humans," Su replied, checking the download progress. "From Earth." "Deathworlders," one of the bridge officers whispered in horror. Su smiled thinly. "I've never heard that term before today. But yes, where we come from, even the rain can kill you if you're not careful. Makes you tough." She tapped her comm. "Captain Jin, we have what we came for, and control of their command systems." Across the fleet, Vorax ships suddenly found their targeting systems offline, their engines powering down. The entire attacking force had been neutralized by 6 humans with a data spike. On the horizon, Dal stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "Your boarding team did this? 6 people?" Jin nodded. "Never underestimate what humans can accomplish when backed into a corner." He turned to his communications officer. "Tell Captain Su well done, and inform the Arcadian government that Proxima Arcadia is secure." For the first time in months, cheers echoed through the halls of an Arcadian city. They had expected aid from fellow peaceful worlds. Instead, they got something far more effective. Warriors born from the crucible of a death world, who had turned their evolutionary curse into the galaxy's most powerful weapon. The war room aboard the Horizon hummed with activity. 3 days had passed since the victory at Proxima Arcadia, and Captain Jin stood surrounded by both human officers and Arcadian officials, studying the wealth of intelligence extracted from the captured Vorax command ship. "Their entire invasion plan," Jin said, gesturing to the holographic display showing dozens of Vorax fleet movements across Arcadian space. "Supply routes, staging areas, manufacturing centers, it's all here." High Commander Dal still seemed unable to believe their change in fortune. "In one operation, you've accomplished what our intelligence services couldn't manage in months of conflict." "Sometimes the direct approach works best," replied Captain Su, who had been promoted following her successful boarding action. The wound on her arm, sustained during their escape from the Vorax vessel, had already been treated and bandaged. She'd refused pain medication, a decision that shocked the Arcadian medical staff. "The question now," said Jin, "is how we use this information." Dr. Nari, the lead Arcadian scientist assigned to the human fleet, stepped forward. I believe I might have something relevant. She activated her data pad, projecting schematics of Vorax ship designs. We've been analyzing their technology. The Vorax rely heavily on radiation-based weapons and shielding systems, specifically, a type of tachyon radiation that our species is particularly vulnerable to. That's why their weapons are so effective against your ships, Lieutenant Park observed. Precisely, Nari nodded. But humans appear to have a remarkable resilience to this particular radiation. Your biology can withstand exposure levels that would be lethal to us. Jin exchanged glances with his officers. Earth's high background radiation, combined with millennia of evolution on a planet bombarded by cosmic rays, had given humans natural resistance that the Arcadians lacked. Can we use this advantage? Jin asked. Indeed. Nari looked excited now. If we modify your ship's shields to deliberately allow some of this radiation through, your vessels could approach Vorax positions, much closer than they expect. They wouldn't adjust their weapons appropriately until it was too late. High Commander Dal looked concerned. But your human crews would be exposed to dangerous levels of radiation. Captain Su smiled grimly. We can handle it. Our bodies repair radiation damage much faster than yours. It's just another adaptation from our lovely Deathworld. Jin studied the tactical display thoughtfully. So we can get closer than they expect. That opens up possibilities. He zoomed in on a particular sector. Here, their main supply depot at Keltari Station. According to these files, it's supplying 40% of the Vorax fleet's ammunition and fuel. Heavily defended, Dal noted.
3 perimeter defense rings, automated weapons platforms, and a standing garrison.
Which is why they won't expect a direct assault, Jin replied. They'll assume we'd never risk it. Lieutenant Park analyzed the defenses. Sir, even with our radiation advantage, a frontal assault would be costly. Who said anything about frontal? Jin grinned. I'm thinking we take a page from Captain Su's playbook, a small strike team inserted covertly. Dal's silver eyes widened. You want to board a space station? With how many soldiers? 12 should do it, Su said after studying the schematics. 2 teams of 6, 1 for the command center, 1 for the power core. The Arcadian commander seemed speechless at the audacity of the plan. In their culture, warfare was conducted at a distance, with technology mediating the violence. The human approach, direct, personal, visceral, was both terrifying and fascinating. 1 week later, 12 human Marines crouched in the cargo hold of a captured Vorax supply shuttle. Captain Su checked her team's equipment one last time. Each soldier carried modified weapons designed by Arcadian engineers to exploit Vorax vulnerabilities. Remember, Su told her team, we're not just destroying this station. We need to plant Dr. Nari's virus in their network first. That will give us access to every Vorax installation that connects to their main grid. The soldiers nodded. They understood the stakes. This wasn't just about saving Arcadian worlds anymore. Earth itself could eventually be threatened if the Vorax weren't stopped. The shuttle approached Keltari Station, transmitting the stolen access codes. Su felt the familiar tension before combat. The heightened awareness, the subtle adjustments her body made in preparation for stress and potential injury. Evolutionary adaptations from Earth's merciless history. Docking complete, reported the pilot, another human trained for this mission. No challenges received. They think we're a regular supply run. Su rose. Team 1 with me to the command center. Team 2, secure the power core. Move. Back on the horizon, Jin and Dal watched the operation unfold through the encrypted data feed from the Marines' helmet cameras. They move like predators, Dal observed quietly as Su's team eliminated a Vorax patrol without raising an alarm. The efficiency of the action was both impressive and disturbing to the peaceful Arcadian. That's exactly what we are, Jin replied. Our ancestors chased prey across open plains until it collapsed from exhaustion. Persistence hunting, it's in our DNA. On screen, the human teams advanced deeper into the station. They encountered resistance at a security checkpoint, but adapted instantly, using the station's own architecture as cover, coordinating with hand signals, overwhelming the defenders with speed and precision. Team 2 in position at the power. Core, came the report over the comm. Standing by. Team 1 approaching command center. Sue's voice followed. Heavy resistance. We need a distraction. Jin leaned forward. Lieutenant Park, is the fleet in position? Yes, sir. Strike group. Ready on your order. Execute distraction protocol. Outside the station, 3 human destroyers suddenly decloaked, launching a barrage of missiles at the station's outer defensive ring. Alarms blared throughout Keltari as the Vorax rushed to battle stations, away from the central command center. That's our cue, Sue told her team. Breaching now. The command center doors exploded inward. Sue's team stormed through the smoke, neutralizing the skeleton crew before they could react. Specialist Wei immediately connected to the main computer terminal. Uploading virus now, she reported. Estimated time to completion, 4 minutes. Team 2. Status? Sue demanded. Power core secured. Charges set. Ready on your command. The virus would spread through the Vorax network, giving the combined human-Arcadian fleet access to enemy communications, security systems, and defensive grids across multiple sectors. It was the key to turning a single victory into a campaign-altering advantage. Upload complete, Wei announced. Virus is in the system. Team 2, start your timers, Sue ordered. Everyone, fall back to extraction point. We have 7 minutes. The teams fought their way back to the shuttle, facing heavier resistance now that the station was on full alert. Private Gill took a hit to his leg but kept moving, helped by a comrade. 2 other Marines suffered injuries but refused to slow down. That soldier is still fighting with a wounded leg, Dal marveled watching the feed. An Arcadian would be incapacitated by such an injury. Humans can compartmentalize pain, Jin explained. Another survival trait. We can push through injuries that would stop most species. The shuttle launched from the station with seconds to spare. Behind it, Keltari Station erupted in a series of precisely calculated explosions, not enough to destroy it completely, but sufficient to cripple its operations for months. Mission accomplished, Sue reported, her voice tight with pain, from a fresh wound in her side. Returning to the horizon. Jin nodded with satisfaction. Well done, Captain, but this is just the beginning. He turned to the strategic display, where a dozen potential targets now glowed red. With their network compromised and their supply lines disrupted, we can hit them everywhere at once. Dal studied Jin's face, seeing something there that both frightened and reassured him. The look of a predator who had cornered its prey. You're enjoying this? The Arcadian said softly. Jin met his gaze steadily. No. I don't enjoy war, but I am good at it. He gestured to the map. The counteroffensive begins now. The Vorax wanted easy conquests among peaceful worlds. Instead, they woke the defenders of a death world. Across Arcadian space, the tide began to turn. Human ships, protected by modified shields and armed with knowledge of enemy weaknesses, struck Vorax positions with devastating precision. The predators had become the prey, and Earth had shown the galaxy why Deathworlders made the most dangerous and most effective allies. 3 months after the battle at Proxima Arcadia, the Vorax Supreme Commander Zextral stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His 4 arms were folded across his chitinous chest as he stared at the tactical display with mounting disbelief. Another supply convoy lost, reported his second-in-command. That's the 5th this week. How? Zextral demanded. We changed the routes, upgraded our cloaking systems, doubled the escort ships. The humans, Commander. They anticipate our movements before we make them. Zextral hissed in frustration. For generations, the Vorax had expanded unchallenged across the galaxy, harvesting resources from worlds too weak to defend themselves. The Arcadians had been no different, until they somehow enlisted these Deathworlders. The tactical display updated, showing another human fleet emerging from FTL near a Vorax mining colony. The pattern was always the same. Swift, precise, strikes followed by immediate withdrawal. Hit and run. Predator tactics. We have lost 28 outposts, his officer continued. 17 supply depots, 3 shipyards. Our forces are stretched thin defending our core worlds. The unspoken truth hung in the air between them. For the first time in recorded history, the mighty Vorax horde was on the defensive. The Council of Hierarchs demands your presence, the officer added quietly. They are displeased with the campaign's progress. Zexitral's mandibles clicked with anxiety. The Council did not tolerate failure. Before he could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL, shouted the sensor officer. Configuration unknown. The view screen activated to show a formation of warships unlike any they had encountered before. Sleek vessels combining the elegant curves of Arcadian design with the practical, powerful silhouettes of human engineering. Incoming transmission, reported the communications officer. It's the human admiral. Zextral straightened his posture. On screen, the image of Admiral Nam appeared, flanked by 2 Arcadian officials. In the 3 months since the humans had joined the conflict, Nam had replaced Captain Jin as fleet commander, bringing with her decades of tactical experience and a reputation for brilliant strategy. Supreme Commander Zextral, Nam's voice, was calm, almost conversational. I believe it's time we talked. Aboard the newly commissioned UAS Concordia, the first joint human-Arcadian battleship, Admiral Nam waited for the Vorax commander's response. Beside her stood High Counselor Sora and Dr. Nari, now the head of the Arcadian Human Technology Exchange Program. Do you think he'll agree to negotiate? Asked Sora. Nam's eyes remained fixed on the screen. He doesn't have a choice. Their supply lines are crippled, their fleets scattered, they're running out of options. The Vorax commander's image reappeared. What do you propose, human? Unconditional withdrawal from all Arcadian territory, Nam replied. Return of all harvested resources. Reparations for worlds damaged during your invasion. Zexitral's mandibles clacked in what might have been laughter. You overestimate your position, Admiral. We still outnumber your combined fleets 3-1. Numbers aren't everything, Nam replied evenly. As you've discovered over the past 90 days. Dr. Nari stepped forward. Supreme Commander, before you decline, allow me to share something with you. She nodded to the tactical officer, who transmitted a data packet to the Vorax vessel. On his own bridge, Zextral reviewed the information with growing alarm. It contained detailed schematics of a new weapon system, a technology combining human expertise in radiation manipulation with Arcadian precision engineering. This prototype has been successfully tested, Nari continued. It neutralizes your ship's shields without affecting your life support systems. We can disable your entire fleet without killing a single Vorax. You're bluffing, Zextral said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. We deployed a scaled-down version against your outpost in the Dalari sector last week, Nam informed him. You classified it as a power failure. Zexitral's officers exchanged nervous glances. That power failure had affected 20 ships simultaneously. Consider carefully, Commander, Nam continued. We don't want to destroy the Vorax. We want peace, but we are fully prepared to continue this campaign if necessary. The unspoken truth hung between them. The humans had only committed a fraction of Earth's military strength to this conflict. If fully provoked, what else might these Deathworlders be capable of? I must consult with the Council of Hierarchs, Zextral finally said. Nam nodded. You have 6 hours. After that, we continue our advance. 4 days later, representatives from all 3 species gathered on the neutral ground of Proxima Arcadia's orbital station. The formal surrender of the Vorax forces had been signed, and now a different kind of meeting was taking place. Admiral Nam sat at the circular table alongside Captain Jin, High Counselor Sora, and Dr. Nari. Across from them sat representatives from 7 other spacefaring civilizations, members of the Galactic Council who had observed the conflict from a distance. This meeting of the Galactic Council is now in session, announced the chairperson, a tall willowy being from a species known as the Telmarie. We are here to discuss the application of Earth for membership, sponsored by the Arcadian Federation. Captain Jin leaned toward Nam. They didn't waste any time. Nam smiled slightly. Nothing motivates bureaucracy like fear. The chairperson continued, "This council has traditionally been hesitant to admit species from Deathworld origins due to concerns about cultural compatibility and potential for aggression." Sora rose to speak. "Distinguished representatives, 3 months ago, my people faced extinction. We sent a distress call, never intending for it to reach Earth." He gestured toward the humans. "Yet when these Deathworlders received our message, they came without hesitation. They fought for us, bled for us, and turned the tide of a war we were losing." Dr. Nari added, "In the process, they have shared technology, knowledge, and resources with us freely. Our civilizations have begun a cultural and scientific exchange that benefits both our peoples." A representative from the Melicon Confederacy, another council member, leaned forward. "But can we trust them? Their capacity for violence is matched by their capacity for compassion," Sora interrupted firmly. "They are predators, yes, but they are predators who choose to protect rather than hunt. That choice defines them more than their biology." Admiral Nam stood, drawing all eyes. "Council members, I understand your concerns. Humans evolved on a world that forced us to become strong, resilient, and yes, sometimes violent. But those same pressures taught us cooperation, innovation, and adaptation." She gestured to the stars visible through the station's viewport. "We don't come to conquer the galaxy. We come to join it." The Telmari chairperson studied Nam carefully. "And what does Earth seek from council membership?" "The same as anyone," Nam replied. "Connection, knowledge, the chance to contribute to something greater than ourselves." She smiled. "And perhaps occasionally, the opportunity to help those in need." The Melicon representative still seemed unconvinced. "The classification system exists for a reason. Deathworlders have historically—" "Perhaps," interrupted Captain Jin, "the classification system needs updating." He pointed to the Arcadians. "These peaceful people were almost wiped out because they lacked the evolutionary pressures that would have prepared them for conflict. Meanwhile, humans were dismissed as too dangerous to contact." He shook his head. "Both assumptions nearly led to disaster." The council members exchanged glances, murmuring among themselves. Finally, the chairperson spoke. "We will deliberate and vote. Please wait outside." An hour later, the Earth representatives were called back into the chamber. By unanimous decision, the chairperson announced, "Earth is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council, with full status to be confirmed after a probationary period of 1 standard year." Cheers erupted from the Arcadian delegation. Admiral Nam and Captain Jin exchanged surprised glances. They had expected resistance, debate, perhaps years of diplomatic wrangling. As if reading their thoughts, the chairperson added, "Recent events have accelerated our normal process. The galaxy is changing and the council must change with it." Later at the celebration aboard the Concordia, High Counselor Sora approached Nam with 2 glasses of Arcadian wine. "To new beginnings," he toasted. Nam smiled, raising her glass. "And to unexpected friendships." "You know," Sora said thoughtfully, "when we first classified Earth as a death world, we thought it was a place of nightmares. We pitied any species forced to evolve there. And now I wonder if perhaps your world made you exactly what the galaxy needs." He gestured to the viewport where ships from a dozen worlds now gathered peacefully. Strength tempered by compassion, the will to fight balanced by the wisdom to choose peace. He raised his glass again. They expected aid from gentle friends. Instead, they got Deathworlders, and the galaxy is better for it. As the celebration continued around them, Nam gazed out at the stars. Earth had found its place in the greater community, not despite their Deathworld origins, but because of them. The very traits that had made humans feared now made them valued. Protectors, in a universe that sometimes needed protection. The age of isolation was over. The age of humanity among the stars had begun,